This is autopilot. Humanity is on automatic movement. Everything is pre-decided and automatically being done, and the only thing you should do is go through the motions of what you pre-decided, we pre-decided for ourselves. And this is the great illusion of the free will, of what we can do and what was pre-decided. And the paradox is it's the same thing. The only trouble or the only obstacle in the way is the ego that is arguing with the fact that he decided this for himself. And even this argument, even these difficulties are pre-decided, and all the conflicts and everything is automatically being done, and no one is ever making any kind of movement or effort. May sound strange because it looks like you are consciously trying to move, to express yourself. You think about the next word you are going to say, or you think you're in control, like in the song, bless your soul, you really think you're in control. And self-realization or enlightenment means you realize the nature of synchronicity, of oneness, that needs nothing. It doesn't need the character to act. It acts because this is what it does. This is its action. But when the veil is being lifted and the secret is out in the open, the thing you realize, is that you can let go and let the process do its thing. Now it's kind of a paradox because of the illusion of free will. And it doesn't come to say that you don't have to make an effort, you don't have to try things. It's the exact opposite, because the story that you tell, even though it was pre-written, you always aspire that it will be the best story you can tell. So if you will not do the greatest effort in the story, it will not be the greatest story you will tell, not because it wasn't pre-decided by you, but because this is the story you decided to tell. So I recommend you try your best, even if it's pre-decided. Don't despair, don't think, okay, I have nothing to do about it. Maybe you did. Maybe you had done this great effort in the story. Why not give it a try? So when you know the truth, you realize that you were like someone who was on a boat, sailing in the great, wide, endless ocean. Of course, the boat is your body, your structure, your spirit, and the ocean is life and all its challenges. And sometimes the sea can be dangerous, and you hold on as hard as you can to the steering wheel, and you just try to navigate in this great big ocean. And sometimes there's a storm, and then you hang to the steering wheel with all your might, and you try your best, and you're so connected to the movements that you make on the steering wheel, because it appears that when you make this movement, the boat goes here, and when you make this movement, the boat can sail this way. Self-realization or enlightenment means you left the steering wheel, and it continued to do the same motions. It continued to navigate in an automatic kind of way, and you don't touch it. You never touch it. You can only sit back and watch what is happening what was the plan that was engraved or programmed into this steering wheel. That has a will of its own, and it wasn't the character. All the character did was to hold to these movements and to imagine that these movements are hers. This automatic movement is the highest possible way for the character, because it was programmed by the best of the engineers and technicians, and everything was taken into consideration while planning the route of this little boat. And whoever planned this movement of the wheel, the steering wheel, knew what the sea would look like in every single second. So everything was calculated, and the best decision was made for you. And this is why we have to accept the place that we are in, because we are in the present moment, the illusion of the present moment. We are always in the best possible starting point for us to realize what we are. Every single second. This is the greatest place you can be. So it's hard to imagine why a movement, or how a movement can be automatic when we know ourselves as characters so well. We know humanity is well aware of the endless chatter in the mind of thoughts and emotions and all the things that seems to lead her to make decisions, because it always seems like it's your responsibility, your way, the things that led you to do that, because this is your character and everything. But all these things, emotions and thoughts and your basic nature and the circumstances, they do not work alone. They do not just appear. They are part from a very elaborate scheme that you already planned, and now it seems like you're executing. You are not executing. Of course, there is no ocean, there is no boat. So enlightenment and self-realization is not only that you sit back inside this little boat and watch as the steering wheel works in an automatic kind of way, and it doesn't matter what happens around you, you don't have the control to change it. It means that you know that this storm is not happening around you, and you are not in a boat, and all this game of playing a steering wheel and storms is just an hallucination, imagination, illusion. So these are two gains when you realize your true self and your true nature. But as a character, if you continue to sail the sea, this is why this state is effortless, because you don't need to do the actual movements and to steer. You let everything happen around you. It doesn't mean you don't act, and I cannot how important it is, yes, to make the effort to do your best in your life as a character. And this is the great, great paradox, why you don't know what kind of story your character decided to tell. The story was already written, and so you cannot turn the pages and try to see what happens next. You cannot do that. You can only read the line you are in. But when you read the line you are in, it's it's not a passive reading, it's an active reading, because as the words appear, the actions appear in the line, and it seems like you can make an effort inside this line. This is why it is important to make the effort to match the automatic movements by your actions. You will always match the automatic movements because it is inescapable. You cannot escape what you have decided for yourself. But when you try your best, it is the only thing you can do as a character, to face this fact that it was all pre-decided for you. So if, for example, you're a great big seeker, like Uma, one of my dearest friends here from this channel, she's a great seeker, and she craves the truth. And her question is always, is it written in my story? Will the automatic movement lead me there? And of course the answer is, I don't know. I hope so. Let's find out. It doesn't matter. But the best thing she can do, you can do, dear, is just continue doing what you believe is the best thing for you to accomplish this great, great, noble will. So as long as you have your hands on the steering wheel, as long as you, everyone, identifies themselves as the captain of this little boat, you cannot leave the steering wheel. If you would, you will have the illusion that everything is falling apart, and you don't want to do that. You want to have the control that you have on this movement as long as it's needed, as long as the illusion is unbreakable for you. So you have to keep your hands on the wheel and to feel it, the resistance, and to feel the struggle, and to try your best. You can play with the thought that now you can hear me saying, that's all right, the wheel moves by itself, and your movements are, it's like kind of delay. After it's being done, you realize what's happening. But as long as this is the situation, as long as you identify as a person, as a character, you cannot leave it voluntarily, and you shouldn't. You have to go through the motions, and until you realize it's only going through the motions, that this movement belongs to no one, till you know that, and until you don't see that there is movement, you only see silence and emptiness, you don't see anything, until that moment, you cannot escape the illusion of free will. But the thing you can and can help you is like the basic knowing that you're in good hands, very good hands, your hands. If you want to help yourself, you have the will to help yourself. Imagine what this will be as the great thing, as one is the need to help yourself. So you're in great, great hands, and everything is okay, and everything is on your way. And so you can, even if you made grave mistakes in your life, mistakes or crimes, you always have this fresh moment to come back to your senses, to see what is happening right now, and to make amends, and to correct, and never despair, because you can tell an automatic story about desperation, but is this the story you want to tell? You should try to tell another story. Maybe you will fail. Maybe this, but the automatic story will be about someone who is trying and failing, not about someone who is who gave up before he tried, because everything is pre-decided, so I can just lay back and let it do its thing. It will not. It will be a story about someone who laid back and nothing will happen. And this will be the story. Funny story. You can do that. But if you want truly to start living, this reality is fresh. Every breath you take, it's a fresh start. It doesn't matter how you were wrong before and how you got to the point where the sea around you just is threatening to drown, you're about to drown. It doesn't matter how you got to this moment. The only thing that matters is what are you doing right now. So you can take all this responsibility, blame and guilt and sadness and frustration and all these negative emotions that come to disturb you right now in this moment, because you bring all this story, this past story, to this moment, and you cannot act freely because this heavy burden just sits on you, and you say, oh, how did I get myself into this state? I am a terrible person. I'm so dumb. I brought myself to this corner and now I cannot get out of it. I'm stuck in like a dead end. You are not stupid or vicious. You brought yourself as a character to a certain point, and this is the point. Now is the point. Right now, and right now, and right now. This is the point. Everything that happened is not the character's responsibility, because it never existed. He never made, she never made any decisions. This was the story that she meant to tell, and everything was leading her every time to the same possibility that is always open. The door is always open. You don't need a key, and you are looking for the key. It's like in my description, the key to the open door. It's not, you don't need the key. You don't need it. The door is already open. It is now. The door is open now. And it will not help you, and it will not help humanity or anyone if you blame yourself. Why did I get to this point? So you can play with the thought, I'm in this point because this was what I planned for me. This was automatically being done. I never took any kind of decision. And this is how I got here. But now, in this moment, I have a choice. I can start fresh. I can always start. You're always clean. You're always pure. You are always the thing itself, always. And you can come back to yourself. It's just waiting for you to do that, to be who you are. But being who you are is accepting this fact in the story, realizing the story without judging yourself, because you cannot know all the calculations that were done by you to get you to this point. And if you are in this point, you should be in this point. You are always in the place you need to be, always. So you are in the place you planned. The movement, your movement throughout all your life was automatic and will be without your control as a character. The only difference is, what are you doing with this fresh start? And it seems like a paradox, because I'm saying, what are you doing? Like, There's someone who needs to do something. But in the story, as long as you are with your hands on the steering wheel, you need to go through the motions and you need to try your best. And if something, what happens to you in the past, of course, never did happen, but the story is not for you to feel guilt and blame and shame and frustration. It's because it needs to tell some kind of story that will motivate you to act in a certain way, a healthy way, constructive way, beneficial way, compassionate way. You need to learn from your mistakes, not let them get you down, not to be despaired by yourself, because you are not to be blamed. And if you will continue to do the same mistakes, again, it was already pre-decided by you. If in this illusion of this present moment, you realize that you can act without the burden of the past. It's like act in a clean kind of way, in a pure kind of way, now. Now it's hard to detach everything that has happened from the situation because it created the situation. So there's so much weight around the next move. What are you going to do next? But the clearer you are, the more grounded you are in the illusion of the present moment, the action that you will take will be better. And this will also be pre-decided by you. Following your line in the story is like an adventure. What will happen next? But it's like in these books, you know, the books, I don't know, when I was a child, small books, when you have like an adventure inside the book, and if you choose to do that, go to page 29, and if you choose to enter the house, go to page 33. Does it matter? No. The entire book was pre-written. And as a child, I remembered I loved to explore all the possibilities of the adventures. This automatic movement, this autopilot, is of course the greatest potential you can express. This is your story, your character's story. You are expressing it in the illusion of the moment. This is why it's always perfect. And this is why the knowing is that humanity has the potential and the ability to elevate itself, and witnessing this beautiful process happening involuntarily, like kicking and screaming. The characters are kicking and screaming, and they have to go through this Via Dolorosa of life, and they do that. And they have no clue and no connection to what's really happening, the story beneath the story, the constant pull, constant push of this thing towards itself. It's great, it's like a magnet, a powerful magnet. We want to be united with our separate forms. Of course, there is no division between us, but in the illusion, it's as a characters that still conceives and perceives the ocean and the waves in some level. It is amazing to see this beautiful movement of improvement. And it's like, and imagine the greatest passion that you have, greatest will. This is the will of itself for humanity, you as separate characters, to elevate yourself to your highest potential by trying to act the highest way you can in every situation. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 cases, do your very, 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 very best. And this seems like a conscious effort, like you have to do that. But if you will do that, it will only mean that you connected to the moment and you tried, and this was in your story. And we hope that it is in the story of humanity to do that. It is uncertain. It is beautiful. It doesn't matter. But it can, and I believe it will, because the powers that are now in action, this world, this illusion of the world, everything that happens in countries, by leaders, all the corruption, all these dark forces that try to manipulate this illusion of reality. They hallucinate that there can be some kind of control over people's minds, that control is about money or power. It's like they should be in an asylum, yes? But it seems like this is reality, but it makes most of the powers that are humanity and people around the world really test themselves and their belief systems and the way they act and their moral values and everything, and they have to do that because they have to do that. And it's like cooking. You are cooking soup, and the fire was small, and now someone has turned up this oven, and the water is starting to boil, and you cannot prevent the movement around you from pushing you into your highest potential. And it's a great time to be alive and to explore this. I know it's hard. Of course it's hard. I know the tragedies, fear, cruelty, terrible things. Everything is an illusion. Everything is for the thing itself to know itself, and to know that none of it was real, and all the suffering was a story designed for you, for us, to express something, and to express it the highest way we can. You will find yourself maybe in places or doing things that you never thought you will do. And this will also be part of this automatic movement that is connected to everything, and you do not live in some kind of white limbo. You live inside a synchronized expression and phenomena that, like great big watch, like a mechanism is working together. So you can see in the outer story of humanity, because now the dark forces are trying to rise, you can see that this automatic movement is bringing them to the surface so that the other forces, us, pure and good, can fight to express and take over, and the room of pure kindness is sitting to this battlefield and has to win, because this is what we are. We will win. Good will prevail. It always does. But the process, it cannot be easy. So this automatic movement of the character is connected to this whole thing that is also this character, and this whole thing is working together in a synchronized way. And there's great order, great order. Nothing is coincidental. Everything was pre-arranged by you. Can you be the wonderful phenomena expressing itself freely and doing its best, telling your story now in this present moment, fighting the battle, joining the battle. It is happening right now inside the illusion of the present moment. It was pre-decided. And you are on a beautiful autopilot. It's much better than what you can ever imagine, and how you would navigate the boat or the plane. It's much more professional. It's taken everything. It has taken everything into consideration. It knows the route. It knows the dangers. It chose this path for you deliberately, and you can. I don't advise you to let go of the steering wheel, but know that underneath your hands there is a greater power, like your power, of the illusion of the skin and bones, that is navigating, and it knows what it's doing. So trust it. Trust yourself.